what is collective consciousness? Collective consciousness is a concept that essentially your energy can actually change the energy of those around you. And I believe that we are all connected in ways that we can never even potentially process and understand. But being able to think of things, those scenarios in life where you actually know that the energy shifts or changes, or the feeling versus energy, depending on what you want to call it. But, we all walk into a room and have experienced where something just doesn't feel right and somebody's in a bad mood and they kind of made the whole area really uncomfortable, a little dark. You can just feel it, right? Or sad. But you can also feel it when people are really happy and you go into the room and they're so ecstatic to see you. Or sometimes you can actually shift the energy of that room because of your happiness or your excitement. And so when we talk about the collective consciousness, it is that essentially, right? But how can we use that for more good than just brightening up a room or, of course, making it darker, right? I think that that's part of the problem, is that we've historically been making things, the collective we, the royal we as we call it, if anybody's a Big Lebowski fan. But it essentially is a place where we can all spend the time to do the inner work on ourselves, to focus on the positivity, to meditate or prayer or mantras or any of these things, and be able to shift some of these bigger problems that are going on. And it seems really virtually impossible to be able to have something that you work on that can affect somebody else. But that's also a method that Reiki works for as well, is you can actually do Reiki on somebody that's across the country or in another country. And you can shift the struggles, the pain, even diseases that people are experiencing by having this connection and increasing frequency and sending good energy. We have so many of these different terms and phrases that we use, sending good juju your way and, positive vibes, right? But what does that really mean? I really want to have conversations about that. I want to meet more people who want to, quit the sauce and focus on like the good stuff, and not just in a blind kind of, pretending that this other bad stuff, whatever it is, even if it's just within yourself or your family, our country, our world. But there's bigger effects that we can do the more of us that get involved, by being able to also be a support system for those that maybe don't necessarily understand what they can do, because they have been stuck in a very low place or a very bad place for a long time. We can collectively help them. And I really truly believe this, and I've seen it, I've done it, I've experienced it. And whether you look up studies, Ho'oponopono, one of the doctors that brought that back to kind of resurrected that in Hawaii, he actually did a full study on a criminally insane institute where he healed the entire ward, essentially, that they closed it, and he never even had to speak with these people or lay a hand on them or have them believe something. They just got better just by him practicing this healing technique from a distance and thinking about the positivity and the healing and the, reducing the pain and the struggle for those people, that it drastically changed, including the staff members and the doctors and everybody who worked there. So that's, some of these things are true miracles, and they're profound. And I believe that they can happen. And so I've been wanting to create this collective consciousness and create community, and whether it be, physically getting together and having a community conversation, circle, community collective, but also being able to bring up, what is everybody doing? What are some of the healing techniques, the energy techniques, what practitioners, enthusiasts, seekers, all of it. kind of bringing them all together and being able to create an environment where we can reach more people, right? And we can get more people involved with this. And, at the end of the day, we cannot rely on our leaders, even if whether they're parents, teachers, politicians, we cannot rely on these people to be the source to change everything for us. Some of the simple things that we can do are vote, participate, hear our voice, get our voices heard. But the other point is that we actually have to also change, right? Because we have to take accountability and responsibility for how our energy is actually contributing, right? And that's a whole nother video of, contribution to problems. And, often those are things that we don't really recognize what we're contributing to that situation. But it can be pretty profound to be able to reflect and look in and realize, wow, I actually do have a piece in that problem that I'm having. And, what can we do to do different, right? So in this scenario, what we can do to do different is to practice meditation, to practice inner healing, to practice being aware and more conscious. What are those things? Eating well, getting our sleep, not digging into, these negative patterns. Sometimes it could be just the news or, watching every potential thing that can kind of upset and trigger you and attracting more of that. There's some of those things are very difficult to get over. I completely understand that. But some of those simple things you don't even realize are so simple for you to be able to practice daily. And, I've referenced before, but I actually have the book here, but in Light on Yoga, they talk about the different classes of people. And there's 4 different classes of people. The first class, the lowest class, is feeble. The definition of feeble, look it up. But it's really interesting to think about that the feeble class should be focusing on mantras only. So when we talk about that, then all I can hear in my head is something so simple as the Ho'oponopono healing. And those are mantras. Those are phrases for positivity to trigger your nervous system, to trigger your brain, to heal and forgive. We get told constantly that so many of the things that we have are, whether it's a pain or a disease or a mental illness or sadness, that they are actually brought on by not forgiving, right? And, there's different sides of the body, work with maternal versus paternal. I mean, there's so much that you can really dig into there. But being able to understand that, at this point, the majority of our society are stuck on a feeble class mindset, and they simplicity of just doing a forgiveness healing ceremony, being able to have those positive affirmations, those can be really powerful, and those do take time. You have to spend the time to do them, which it doesn't take more than a few minutes a day. If you can do them multiple times a day, that's amazing. But being able to, again, simply practice these mantras, whatever ones make sense for you. We always have different teachings where we can, and this is whether you're spiritual, whether you're, religious, whether you are atheist, any of these things, we're constantly being told to say positive things about each other or to each other or even to ourselves. And to say thank you and to say I'm sorry and all of those things. And so to realize that you can actually heal by being able to just say, I am enough, or thank you, and I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me. All of those things, you can heal so much by doing that. And then when you can get into focusing on where in the body you're feeling some pain. If, any of you have ever been to a yoga class, often they will ask you, kind of go inward and where can you, feel some tension in your body and breathe into those areas, right? The reason why they're doing that is because there is tension there, and you don't necessarily have to go through the trenches of therapy to really pull out every single detail about what happened, who said, she said, they did, any of that. But you can actually just consciously say, I let it go. I release it. I take accountability for my contribution to it, and I release it. Sometimes the contribution is purely just holding on to it and not wanting to let it go. And, being really conscious of that. But then there's also the subconscious. And some of the modalities for that can be really profound. I listen to sleep meditations every single night. And I can tell you, ever since I found them, I have been sleeping much better. I never even thought I had trouble sleeping, but now I sleep even better. I have more lucid dreams, which are really fun, interesting too. And I feel like some of these subconscious, these unconscious blocks and limitations and beliefs, I feel so much better. And I don't actually even have to go through, why do I have that belief? Why do I think that about myself? Or why do I think other people are thinking that about me? Or why am I not successful here? Any of these things. I'm able to really profoundly achieve more, even with those simple meditations. I've had several friends and colleagues that I've said, just here, listen to this sleep meditation tonight and, call me in the morning. How do you feel? Sometimes, when they do it, they feel incredible. Often people struggle with actually taking the action to do some of these simple things because it's almost too simple, right? But it's pretty interesting to see some of the case studies, the stories, the miracles that happen. Sometimes people do some really profound things with their careers or their family life. And it's really, really interesting to see. So I feel like taking this back around to creating this collective consciousness is something that I feel very adamant about. I feel very passionate and powerful with. I think that we all have an amazing power, and to create a space to essentially join that energy and that power and that frequency together can, I don't even know if move mountains is big enough. The amount of change that I think that we can do for ourselves, for our lives, and for those around us and our communities can be really powerful. So if you're interested in learning more about collective consciousness, stay tuned.